Om Shanti. This is the slogan of August 3rd. Do the service of giving sakash, and any problems will easily run away. Do the service of giving sakash, and any problems will easily run away. So, do we have any problems? Because, of course, we would think that we do. Our lives, especially as Brahmins, seem to be filled with every kind of test, challenge, opportunity for growth, whatever you're calling it. But what about Baba? How does he see any of these problems? Are any of them problems for him, for Baba? No, we can't even imagine that for Baba there would be a problem. Why? Is it that he knows something we don't know? No. He's given us all the knowledge. Everything that he knows, he's shared with us. So why is it that for him there's no problem? He doesn't see any problems. When we do, as if there's no end to our struggle in front of all these problems. He says easy Raja Yoga, and it's simple. Whereas we hear that and sometimes we just kind of laugh. So it must be Baba's faith in what he knows, the conviction that he brings to what he knows. Time moves cyclically. We've gone through all the seasons. This is winter. It's now the end. Spring is coming. His faith, his conviction, his confidence would be 100%. Whereas ours, number-wise, 40%, 60%, 80%. So the real question is, when we're looking and trying to deal with problems, is how to close the gap so that my relationship to these problems are the same as Baba's. Giving sakash is one way to close the gap. It's a very, very new kind of formula for working with problems. But we can understand it. We can understand why he proposes it. Because according to what God sees, what God knows, the problems have an image attached to them. There's a image for what we call problems. He doesn't see them as problems as much as he sees them as a kind of darkness that's overtaken the soul of humanity, overtaken the soul, the children of God. Call it a kind of darkness, call it a kind of emptiness. But this is what he sees. And it's clear, if we want to work smart instead of hard, that if the root of every problem is just this emptiness or the darkness, then what we need to be doing is filling that emptiness, or as we understand it, we need to bring in that light. We need to bring in the light. We've got to get new energy in the circuits. Because this is the only problem. The energy running our patterns, our behaviors, our thought processes, it's old energy. That emptiness, that darkness. We need to just bring in that light, which means, of course, all those beautiful energies of the truth, the original, eternal state of the soul, that pure, spiritual, godly love, bliss, joy, peace, purity, power. And of course, we do need to be doing everything on ground zero too. Service needs to be planned. In the face of breakdowns in relationships, conflicts of sanskaras, disharmony in the family, in different teams, we do need to sit and create guidelines and respect guidelines. We need to create structures. We need to address everything on a practical level too. But in order to make it successful, in order to really see my own sanskaras changing, relationships improving, the family coming more into unity or harmony, whatever we're doing on ground zero, in other words, on a practical, physical level, can only be successful to the extent that it's carrying these energies of truth. So what is Sakash? Sakash is that current of God's light and might that He gives especially to any individual who's in need of extra support. Any BK especially, who's in need of extra support. I received Sakash from Baba. It's an amazing experience, which I'm sure many of you would have had. But here Baba is saying that to finish all problems, I have to do the service of giving Sakash. So what does that mean? Because it's still God's currents of light and might that are going to reach another individual or a place in crises. But it means I have to make myself that instrument through which those currents can pass uninterrupted, undamaged, unpolluted, to reach someone else on the planet. So, to give Sakash, to do the service of giving Sakash, I need to have a very high stage. Very high. This is a kind of service through the mind that is higher than just, say, working with the right attitude, pure feelings, good wishes. It's even higher than man above, in which people can feel the energies of godliness around me and be rested, be comforted. This is very high. The only way His currents of light and might can successfully pass through me without being diminished is if I come into a stage where I am completely melted into his high energy wavelength, completely melted, a stage of absolute purity, unlimitedness, no thoughts, no feelings, other than the one or two that God might have. Very pure stage, completely aligned to the godly energy field. Only this kind of stage enables me to become that conduit of his currents, to become that instrument. So, where I think it all becomes quite interesting is, this reality. How often do I have that stage? So is it that I'm going to wait to give sakash until the day that I do have that stage? And until then, problems will always stay with me? They won't run away? Because the reality is that most of the time I don't have that stage. Usually we're lost in the world of problems, which is another way of saying we're lost in the world of darkness. Actually, worse than being lost. By being in that darkness, giving any attention and time to it, we're actually feeding the darkness, increasing it. So this is really a very different formula, a very different dynamic. Because Baba's telling us, address the darkness, those problems, with your light. As if his advice to us to do the service of giving sakash is really just a method to make us practice cultivating a very specific, elevated awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of my role, particularly in front of all the problems that I have to deal with. The other day in the blessing, Baba was saying, be a bestower. May you be a bestower. By simply having this awareness that you are a worthy of worship soul. You have a right to be a sovereign. Just this awareness alone fills the self with all the treasures needed. If I'm still lost in that world of darkness, battling the things of darkness with anything other than light, it must be because I have a very low level of awareness of all the other tools available to me as a bestower. This awareness that in front of the problems I have to be a giver, and that I can be a giver because I do have all that's needed, all that must be given. We have to try this and keep trying it and keep trying it until our faith increases that the only thing that's going to finish the problems is the stuff of light. My lightness, no matter what's going on, my peace, no matter what's going on, my love, particularly and specifically in the way that those keep me connected to God. And then His currents, His energies can do the rest. My experience is that as we practice doing the service of giving sakash, not waiting till I have that stage, but invoking that stage, creating this practice of invoking it through this awareness of who I really am. It brings feelings of great closeness to Baba. This is when that partnership really becomes something living, not just theoretical or hypothetical. He really is there for me, and I really am there for Him. I really am an instrument through which He's serving the whole rest of His family. This is to sit on my seat of self-respect. It's not come from any label I've acquired. It's not come through any external accomplishment. It's coming from a real recognition of my value to God and the value of the part I play to the whole of humanity. This seat of self-respect brings so much change in ourselves. And I would even say that my experience invoking the stage that's needed to do the service of sakash is a real living experience of how God is in charge. God is in charge. I am not in charge. And what actually does that mean? It means that the truth is in charge. The truth is in control. The seasons have happened. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, we're now at the end of winter. It is time for the darkness to end. It is time for the day to begin. It's time for winter to finish. It's the time for the spring to begin. Truth is in control here, and nothing is going to stop it. There is no problem that can stop it, none. So I don't need to be worried. I don't need to get all caught up. I don't need to defend the truth or prove the truth. It becomes very clear when I give myself this responsibility of serving through sakash that the only thing I need to do is become true. Really. I need to become true. So that eventually this invoking of the stage again and again and again, that stage becomes my natural nature once again. So, Baba wants us to do the service of sakash so that we learn to stay seated on our highest seat of self-respect. It's a very blessed experience because that stage, so melted, so close to Baba and in a partnership, really emerges these feelings as the feelings God would have, that everything is going to be all right. I'm good. The Father's good. The Brahma is good. Very blessed experience. Om Shanti.